I'm sorry I haven't done a video in a long time. I was on vacation, and then when I came back from vacation, there was a lot of stuff I had to catch up on. But I'm going to start getting into doing videos on a more regular basis. So the topic that I want to touch on today is charging money in the craft.
Innocent burning of the stake. Children resist a return to the burning times. People be wise to the power of their lives.
Religion and money. It's not a complicated subject, but I think what it is it's a sticky subject, because the truth of the matter is we all have to pay for the roof above our head. We have to pay for the food that gets put into our mouth. So money is a very intricate part of our civilization currently. Again, this is my own opinion as a self-proclaimed Wiccan. I don't follow any other tradition. I don't speak for every single person who practices. I'm only speaking from my own point of view. There are two books that I'm going to quote from, and then we're going to talk about money in the craft. The first one is A Witch's Way from Janet Stewart Farrar. On page 143, the law says, never accept money for the use of the art, for money ever besmireth the taker, or smeareth the taker. It is a universal principle among white witches that no payment may be taken for magical work. The acceptance of fees does smear the taker. With the best will in the world, it encourages a subconscious tendency to put on an act, and to produce impressive results by a little quiet string pulling. To call the customer in for more sessions than are strictly necessary, and before long to accept assignments that are not exactly black, just a little gray, and so on. More than one witch or spiritualist medium comes to that has found his or her originally genuine powers waning after going professional, because both sincerity and judgment become eroded. Now we come to what exactly is the problem with charging for my time, my paper, my tools, what's wrong with it? I have to pay my rent, I have to pay for food, I have to pay all of this. Am I supposed to pay it out of my pocket? Well, this is where it gets a little tricky. The truth of the matter is, any working group is going to accrue expenses. You're going to have, if you're not practicing in someone's house, you're probably practicing in the space, you're paying for that space. Who's going to take up that space? That group is going to share that expense. I don't think any one person should take it on. Who's going to buy the incense? Who's going to buy the candles? Who's going to replace the tools when they get damaged? All of these things are shared responsibilities by the group. What I'm talking about is the actual exchange of information from one mouth to one ear. That, I believe, cannot be charged for. So what that means is you are giving your knowledge to someone else who may be a seeker, may be an initiate, but they are receiving information of the Wicca to that person. That, I believe, should not be charged for. Now, you could argue, well, yeah, but what about paper and pens and time, administrative fees, blah, 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 all of those things? That's the sticky part. That's the part where you have to ask yourself, is this how much it's actually costing me to give these materials? Or is this what I'm hoping to get out of it? So, I'm going to quote from another person older in the craft. Her name is Patricia Crowder, and this book is Coven Sense. It's a great book if anybody ever decides to get it. So, the question comes up. Someone asks, do you think that something has been lost amidst the commercialization of the craft? And Patricia Crowder's response is, yes, most certainly. If money is taken for instructions in the craft procedure, it besmirches and degrades the craft and also the person who is charging the fee. We are speaking of the ancient mysteries and of the evolution of the soul, and these things are sacred and cannot be bought. But, however, much iconoclasts attempt to destroy the spiritual values of the craft. In this way, they will not succeed. There will always be honorable initiates who will protect it from such vandals. But aside from the above, the running costs of a study group on esoteric subjects should not be onus of the teacher. The cost of items such as light, heating, or refreshment should be shared among the students. I believe that Patricia Crowder is saying essentially the same thing that I'm saying, is that the teacher should not take on the costs of all the supplies, the materials, and stuff like that. That should be a shared cost between all of the members. So, what is to say that I say, well, I spent $100 on all of my materials, so there's 5 of us, so everybody has to give me $20. Should I produce a receipt? Absolutely. If I can show that I spent $100 on it, then everybody should have to put in $20. I mean, if you kind of, if you want to get stickler about it, what I'm basically saying is that I can't just pull a number out. I should be able to back it up and say, well, I spent $80 on this, I spent $10 on this, I spent $5 on this, and I spent $4 and $1 for this and that, so that it adds up to $100. So I hope that I've made a clear distinction between ritual supplies, materials, rent, various costs like that for any group, and then the actual charging of money for the mouth to word aspect of the craft. Now, one of the reasons why I'm rather adamant on this point is this topic has come up a couple of times in my life, and so I've decided that I needed to voice my opinion on it. I think it's important to understand that money has a way of causing little problems. Like Janet Stewart-Farrar mentioned, do you have to put on a show if you're charging money? If you're teaching Wicca, do you have to be able to produce effects or maybe teach some lost secret that's very important because people paid for it? Or can you just basically just give your information just the way it was passed on to you without anything, and then the student doesn't feel like, well, I paid $100 for that. The student doesn't feel like they were gypped. The other part of it is that we should be able to pass along this information to any sincere person who wants to follow it. And a $1, $5, $10, $20, $100 fee should not get in the way of that. I think anybody who sincerely has a desire to want to study this should be able to do so. So that's another part of it. Lastly, I'm just going to put it out there. My core belief, my karma, my craft. That's what it comes down to for me. If I am charging money for it, I think it lessens it. And it's no longer a craft, and now it's becoming a business to me. So anyhow, those are just my thoughts on charging money in the craft and specifically what I mean by that. And I hope, if anything, this opens up a dialogue or gets you thinking about stuff. You can leave a response below if you'd like. And thank you very much. Blessed be.